Everyone thinks Bitcoin is a revolution, a brand new invention that's rewriting the rules of money, freedom, and power. But what if I told you that it's not new at all? What if Bitcoin, blockchain, and the entire decentralized movement are not an invention of the future, but a rediscovery of something ancient? Because long before we built nations, banks, or even writing, human beings already lived in a decentralized world. We've just forgotten it. And maybe, just maybe, what we call progress was actually a long detour away from something more natural. The coming decentralized economy isn't just about technology. It's about returning to an old truth, that humans have always worked best when power is shared, not controlled. Picture this. Thousands of years ago, before kings or presidents or corporations, small groups of people sat around campfires making decisions together. No rulers, no currency, no hierarchy. Just voices, debating, agreeing, disagreeing, until the group reached consensus. Anthropologists studying early societies have found that this was the norm. Leadership wasn't fixed. The best hunter led the hunt. The best healer cared for the sick. The best storyteller guided the group's values. Power wasn't owned. It was borrowed, and only when needed. If that sounds familiar, it should. That's exactly how blockchain networks function. No permanent leader, no central authority. The system itself is the leader, and consensus is the law. So maybe Bitcoin isn't as futuristic as it seems. Maybe it's our technology catching up to something ancient inside us. Now fast forward thousands of years to the forests of North America. The Iroquois Confederacy formed one of the most sophisticated decentralized systems in history. 5 nations, later 6, came together under what they called the Great Law of Peace. Each nation remained independent, but sent representatives to a central council. Decisions were made through careful debate, and no one ruler could dominate the others. It was slow, but it was stable. Power was balanced, shared, distributed. Some historians even say this inspired the framers of the US Constitution. But what's more important is the spirit behind it, an early human attempt to build governance without a king, without central command. It worked for centuries. Meanwhile, across the ocean, the Greeks were experimenting too. Athens, the birthplace of democracy, believed that ordinary citizens should decide their own future. Any male citizen could stand up, speak, and vote directly on laws. It was messy, emotional, and chaotic, but it was alive. Every citizen mattered. Every voice could shape the outcome. Compare that to today's systems, where decisions are made far away, by people most of us will never meet. The Athenians believed that participation was the heartbeat of freedom. And in that sense, decentralized networks like Bitcoin or DAOs are spiritual descendants of Athens. They replace politicians with protocols, rulers with rules, and speeches with smart contracts. The Romans, too, understood the danger of centralized power. The Republic built an intricate system of checks and balances. 2 consuls ruled together for only a year, watched over by the Senate and the people's assemblies. Every layer of their government was designed to prevent tyranny. And for a while it worked. But eventually ambition won. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, seized control, and declared himself dictator. The Republic fell, and the empire was born. Rome's story is a warning. When power centralizes, collapse follows. No matter how strong the system, corruption seeps in when too much authority sits in one place. Even in medieval Europe, an age we often imagine as dark and rigid, decentralization kept finding ways to bloom. Merchant guilds regulated trade, maintained quality, and enforced rules without kings or police. They were networks of trust, built on reputation and shared interest. Towns and communes negotiated charters, granting them self-rule. Monasteries, too, operated as self-governing communities. They elected their leaders, managed resources collectively, and lived by codes they themselves had written. In a sense, they were running analog blockchains, distributed systems of accountability built on shared belief instead of code. So the question becomes, why does decentralization keep returning? Why do humans build centralized systems, watch them rise, then tear them down again? The answer lies deep in our psychology. Centralized systems are efficient when things work, but they're fragile when they don't. A single failure can bring everything down. One corrupt ruler, one broken bank, one compromised server, and the whole structure collapses. Decentralized systems are slower, sure, but they're resilient. Like a forest made of thousands of trees, if one falls, the ecosystem survives. It's redundancy, it's adaptability, it's nature's design. But there's another reason: freedom. People crave agency. They want to feel that their choices matter. Centralization promises order, but often delivers control. The more power gathers at the top, the more alienating alienated the people below become. And throughout history, when that pressure builds too high, revolutions erupt. Decentralization, on the other hand, disperses that energy. It invites participation. It transforms obedience into collaboration. That's why movements for freedom, equality, and transparency always carry a decentralized spirit. Because deep down, humans don't just want to be led. We want to belong. Corruption is another timeless villain. When decision-making and wealth pool in the hands of a few, temptation multiplies. Decentralization disrupts that. It doesn't rely on the morality of individuals. It relies on structure. In a decentralized network, no one can easily cheat the system because the rules are transparent and verified by everyone. That's the genius of the blockchain. It turns honesty into architecture. You don't need to trust the person, you trust the protocol. But let's bring this back to the present. When the internet was first born, it promised to be decentralized, a free web where anyone could connect, create, and share without gatekeepers. For a while it felt that way. Then came the platforms. A handful of corporations now own our data, our conversations, even our identities. The internet, once open and democratic, became centralized again. That's the world Bitcoin rebelled against. It wasn't just about money. It was about trust, ownership, and power. Bitcoin said, what if no one controlled the ledger? What if the system itself was incorruptible? It wasn't just code, it was philosophy. That same philosophy now fuels what we call Web 3, a new generation of the internet that gives users ownership and autonomy. DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations, take the concept further. Imagine running a company where no one's the boss, and every decision is made collectively, recorded transparently, and executed automatically. It sounds utopian, but it's already happening. Artists, entrepreneurs, activists, they're forming digital cooperatives where value and voice are shared equally. It's the Iroquois Council reborn on a blockchain. Still, history reminds us, decentralization isn't perfect. Ancient democracies collapsed into chaos. Guilds became cartels. Even the Iroquois system struggled to adapt as it grew. Without shared values and trust, decentralized systems can fracture. So the challenge isn't just building distributed technologies, it's building distributed cultures. Code can write rules, but only people can build trust. Yet despite the messiness, the pattern is clear. Decentralization keeps winning over time, because every time humanity concentrates power, we reach a breaking point. The pendulum swings back toward distribution, toward collaboration, transparency, and resilience. That's why today's decentralized revolution feels inevitable. It's not a trend, it's a correction, a rebalancing of something that has tilted too far toward control, and it's spreading far beyond finance. Musicians are using NFTs to connect directly with fans. Scientists are forming decentralized research collectives to bypass bureaucracy. Communities are creating digital co-ops where members share ownership of platforms and profits. These aren't just tech experiments, they're echoes of old systems that once worked. Guilds, councils, communes, reborn in digital form. When you look at it this way, the decentralized economy isn't a futuristic fantasy. It's a continuation of humanity's oldest story, the struggle to balance freedom and order. Centralization brings stability, but at a cost. Decentralization brings freedom, but demands responsibility. The goal isn't to destroy one or worship the other, it's to find equilibrium. What blockchain gives us is a new tool to manage that balance at scale, using code to coordinate trust across the globe. And as we face massive challenges, from economic inequality to climate change to digital surveillance, centralized solutions alone won't be enough. The problems are too big, too interconnected. They demand systems that are adaptive, transparent, and collectively governed. That's what decentralization offers: resilience through diversity, power through participation. In the end, Bitcoin is just the beginning. The real revolution is philosophical. It's a reminder that power doesn't have to flow downward. It can flow outward. Humanity has always known this, from tribal councils to Greek assemblies, from Roman republics to medieval communes. We are not inventing decentralization. We are remembering it. A blockchain isn't just code. It's the echo of our oldest instinct to decide together. Decentralization isn't rebellion. It's return. The future won't be ruled. It will be shared.